Okay, well, it's my turn to have a little bit more fun at the piano, which I'm quite excited about. So I'm going to do a little session on what I call musical mashups, which I kind of touched on with Violet yesterday. And I'll also get, can I get Ben, we've got our lead here. I'll just get you to connect that for me, please. All right, so musical mashups. Now this is my word for, or my name for, when I take a piece of music and muck around with it with students. And this to me is it's just such a great entry level way of introducing improvising in your studio. So it's really very low risk, and you don't need to know too much about improvising to do it and have great fun with your students. This is the quote that I shared when I introduced Piano for Leisure 4 at the workshops. It was one from someone on Facebook, and she said, here's a big reason why students want to quit piano, why they fall out of the funnel. They want to quit piano because they don't understand how music works. And this, I believe quite strongly, that so much of the focus of music education from the 1800s to now are on these three things: reading, performing, interpretation. That is the focus. And it's not just piano as well. If you go and have a violin lesson, a traditional one, you'll have the same thing. Clarinet, any of our instrumental music, this is what it's all about. But for students, really that is skimming the surface. It's tip of the iceberg stuff, because what about composing and improvising and playing by ear and accompanying and singing while you're playing and reading lead sheets and playing in a band, exploring other instruments? I mean, the list goes on. But to me, this is the iceberg. This is what makes a well-rounded pedagogical experience for someone learning a musical instrument. And I guess I do want to also say more generally that I don't want anyone to leave this event thinking that they should ditch reading and classical music and theory and forget all that and just jam along with their kids with a backing track, because that's not what we're about. Remember that all of these things form a piece of a bigger puzzle. And the whole puzzle together is a well-rounded, in my opinion, a well-rounded musical education for a student. If we just take a couple of the pieces, we're leaving so much on the table. And as Christina says, I think we're losing students to the fact that if you don't understand some of these other things, you can't have a full understanding of music. And so here's a great example from Piano for Leisure. I'm using my own books. So these are the Piano for Leisure books that we released a few years ago, Series 4, Piano for Leisure. This is Full of Confidence, which is in the preliminary book. And I'm just going to play it to you as written. This is a Christopher Norton one, so a great piece. So easy, well, it's not easy for students, but easily composed. The construction of this piece is really very, very simple. So you've seen what I did with Violet. Who would suggest one of the first things I would do with a student who could play this if they came to me for a lesson? What would I do? What was the first thing I did with Violet? Played around with the bass line. Before I did that, I did something else. I put a beat on, yeah, so easy thing to do. If it's got it's a rock piece or this kind of jazz, put a beat on for students and then play around with the bass line. So this is wonderful. There's, again, a nice, simple repeating bass line that continues almost through the whole piece. We've got a little bit of a different part on line 3, so then just focus on the first 2 lines. And the notes of the right hand all form part of a scale. Anyone guess what it is? C blues scale. Every single note. He doesn't deviate from this at all. We've got this. We've got these 3 notes. So, perfect C blues scale. So, what can we do with our students? Get them to improv. Yeah. So, if they, while you're playing this, and you can just play this over and over, maybe one more note, that's 2 notes. be a bit more advanced than preliminary level students, but you get the idea. This piece is just fabulous for mashing up. Rip it apart and put it back together. Now, for students playing this for an exam, you don't want them, like, it would be lovely if the AMB would accept a student going crazy like that in their exam, but that's not what this type of exam is all about. If you want to do that, have a look at Rock School and AMusA, some of AMusA's improvisationary ones. But they're going to have such a better understanding of this piece of music if they know the two things that have put together to construct it. Blues scale, walking bass line, simple repeated bass line. So the benefits of this approach for me, deepening the student's understanding of music, which I've said, it definitely improves the student's reading ability, because what they're going to start to do is see patterns in the music, and then we're going to make connections with things that they see, things that they've done before, and things that they were learning in other pieces. And I love it. Light bulbs go off with students and they're like, oh, is that a blues thing that we did? And I'm like, yeah, that's right. Or they'll be playing even a Baroque piece, maybe from a Piano Adventures book that has a very simple chord progression in it. And they're like, this is just a C and an F and a G chord. I'm like, yeah. A lot of music is really simple. And then if you're really good and you really get them curious, they'll start listening to their own music. If they're listening to music that has music in it, unlike a lot of kids these days listening to the rap and stuff, which is it's a real struggle. But if they're listening to pop music, then they can start hopefully hearing that these pop pieces are just composed of such simple chord progressions and repeating little pentatonic motives. Boosts your creative confidence on ideas, which is really important. So if you're quite new to improvising and getting creative, this is a really risk-free way to start doing that, and it keeps your teaching interesting, and we all like keeping our teaching interesting. So one of the approaches that I have for creativity generally in lessons is there's kind of three approaches you can take. The first one is if you're taking a piece of music that the student's learning, so let's say it's a Christopher Norton, and you just change the speed or the dynamics, or you crescendo or decrescendo somewhere different. That's kind of level one. It is creative, but I don't think it's particularly creative. So, but that's the simplest thing that you could do with a piece of music like this. Or you could play the whole thing up an octave or something like that. Level two, which is what we're talking about today, is where we take elements of the music and we start playing around with it. So we create intros and outros, we improv, we might change the style and create our own arrangement from it. And then level three is where we compose from scratch. No music at all. So like Lindell does with her stories and films. So what I do with something that I call four-chord composing, where we don't have any music, we just go straight to being creative. But jumping straight to that end can be tricky. So that's why I'm showing you this middle one. So you've got in your playbooks the three-step mashup plan. So it's really simple. Does the piece have a repeating left-hand pattern? If yes, go on. If no, go back to the start and find a piece that they're playing that does. What is the style and key of the piece? So this is where you get kind of three options. And I know there's more styles and genres in music than these three, but this is the overview. And therefore, whichever path you take, improvise a new right hand over it using the left hand that's already written in the score. So I'll give you a few other examples of both contemporary music and also some classical music too, so you can see it works in all settings. The next one that I'll do is Dudes Keep Strutting. So this is another really obvious one that you can do it with. Has anyone taught this piece, by the way? It's in Piano for Leisure. Yes, beautiful. Did you try mucking around with it? Yes, brilliant. All right. So we've got walking bass, left hand. Right hand scale, what should we use? This is jazz. We're in, what key are we in, by the way, guys? D minor, yep. So we would use the D blues. Yeah, D blues scale. So D, F, G, G sharp, A, C, D. Does anyone want to come up and have a go? It's really fun. Who said yes? Come on up. Yeah, come on, Tim. Good. You've come a long way, so you might as well. Do you know the D blues scale? Have you ever played it before? Sweet. All right, let's try and perch two decent-sized guys on this little bench here. Here we go. So your scale. You can do it up here if you want, wherever you want on the piano. Let's hear how it goes. Thank you. Much better than me. Well done. That was great. So you can just start with a few notes. You don't have to start with the whole scale. Just take a couple of the notes and see what they do. You'll be amazed, like I was with Violet, like we all were yesterday. I had no idea what to expect, and she took it and ran with it just beautifully. Later on in this piece, you can't see it on the screen, it does this kind of walking bass middle section. And then it's back to that. So you could, even during that walking bass section, muck around with it. Students will absolutely have a blast. By the way, let me know if you've got any questions. I don't have my Slido with me. All right, so let's have a look at a completely different genre. So this is also from Piano for Leisure Grade 1. This is Prayer, Michael Hannon, Australian composer. I'll just play a little bit of how it sounds at the moment. And I want you to think about what scale we might use for improv for this one. I would love to play it all, but I know time's short. What scale could we use for this piece? Ooh, yeah, someone's saying D something, yeah, D. Yes, you could. I'll try it. Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And there's one other scale that could work really well. It's a Mixolydian scale. Who said that? Maddie. Right on the ball. So D Mixolydian scale, which is this. So it's a D major scale with a C natural, so a flattened seventh, in other words. And that mixes really well with the left hand going to the C natural there. Matt, come up and give this scale a bit of a shot, the Mixolydian scale. Here. Here we go, you ready? Thank you. Really lovely. Now, if you weren't sure about how to work out that Mixolydian could work, or if you're not sure about modes and how to work out if a piece of music is in a mode, then I have a fabulous flowchart download for free. It's on my website. I'll put a link in the Piano Pivot group. Someone remind me, Mel. Thank you. The how to work out modes sheet. So here we go. Here's a classical kind of piece. Has anyone taught this before? So what could we use? Right hand, nice and easy, this one. G major, yeah. You get the idea. I mean, that's a really easy one because nothing happens in the left hand at all. By the way, that is in Piano for Leisure. That's a nice easy one if you need an easy piece for a student to quickly learn. Here's an Ossian by Eric Satie. This is in about grade 5, I think. I haven't played this for a while. I tried it just downstairs. So who wants to come and try a little right hand with this? Come on, be brave, somebody. What scale would I have been using here in the case of this one? No tricks. No tricks. D minor. So I was using D minor with the D pattern and C minor. Are you coming up? Yay! Come on up, Linda. So I was just using D minor with the D bit and C minor with the C bit, and I threw in a blues note by mistake. You can do that too if you want. All right, here we go. C minor. Yeah. Finish on the D1. Ooh, nice one. The wonderful thing is you're only a semitone away from the right note at any time. Yes. Well done. Thank you, Linda, being very brave. Thank you. She said as she walks on, I hate improvising. So, well done for breaking out of your comfort zone. Nice work. And I'll just finish with this little beauty from Philip Johnston. So this was a piece that I mentioned that I put in Piano for Leisure grade 3, I think it is. Has anyone taught this one? Yes, a couple of people. Beautiful. Lovely little waltz. Goes a bit like this. I want to go on because it's lovely. Beautiful little piece. Yeah. So again, this one's in, we've got up on the screen, what key? No tricks here, C major. So with the left hand, it doesn't repeat quite as steadily as the other ones do, but exactly the same idea. Whoop. Get the idea. So, I know that's been really quick. This is a little quick win for you in how to mash up pieces of music that you have in your studio. So where to from here? I want you to think about whether you could choose a mashup for either one of your students in the next couple of weeks when you go back to teaching, or one for each student if they're starting to learn some music. And if you're confident with that, then definitely try the next level, level 3, which is improv from scratch, and turning your improvising with your students into compositions. And the only difference there is that you're helping them settle on an improvisation that becomes the composition, and maybe writing it down if you have time and the student's interested. And yes, I have one of the courses in Top Music Pro is for chord composing course, which literally steps you through this. I've also got one on GarageBand, which connects beautifully, because when students have created a 4-chord composition, they can put it into GarageBand and then play along with this whole symphony orchestra. It's a wonderful thing to experience. I've done it with Tim. He's written a whole song like this. If I can get him to sing it next time, we'll get him back and we'll get him doing some singing as well. So that's it. Thank you very much.